Meanwhile, female workers, particularly women of color, are more vulnerable to workplace harassment than ever before. A new study from the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund underscores how the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic is hurting women at work and protecting those who abuse their power. Here to discuss is Sharon Tajani, director of the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, and Tunisha Singleton, a victim of workplace harassment. Welcome to you both, guys, and thank you so much for joining me on this, an incredibly important topic. Tunisha, I'm going to start with you. You have been a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace. Talk me through your experience.
Sure. Thank you for having me. And, to start my story, I was hired originally in an entry-level position, and within 5 months, I was promoted to a senior manager role, and with a higher salary, business cards, the whole thing. And I was so excited for the career growth, but those feelings, they changed. They changed very, very quickly. And it all came to a head at a company event when one of my bosses on a microphone called me out and said, "Tunisha, stop doing blow in the bathroom, you crack whore. You're never going to produce anything."
What?
And yeah, and this is in front of my peers, my bosses, who were laughing very, very clearly. This is in front of people who attended this company event solely for the purposes of meeting me, that have never met me before. And I was devastated. I was mortified. And as soon as I could, I ran to the bathroom and just cried. And I felt dehumanized and belittled. I was frozen. And all of the this just snowballed to this event. And because there were several other smaller instances of casual racism within the workplace, but this was a very clear example that despite all of my hard work, despite all of my experience, despite my PhD and my education, that none of that really matters, because at the end of the day, to people in positions of power, I'll still only be some lesser than over-sexualized black girl. That's what they did means. That's what they did meant. And that was the beginning. And you reported this yes, to the head of your organization, your company, and you were retaliated against. Absolutely. That event happened on a Saturday. So that next Monday, the next business day, we have our, regular Monday morning meetings. And I was in my direct supervisor's office and, kind of began the day. I was the first one there and, got the, "Hey, how are you?" Typical stuff. And I said, "Hey, I'm really distraught. I'm not okay. I did not sleep. I'm mortified. And I'm so upset about what happened." And it was brushed off. It was jokes, not a big deal, just whatever. And went on with the quarterly report. It was business as usual.
How long ago was this?
And within 2 weeks, I was laid off from that day.
How long ago was this?
This was 2018, April of 2018.
Okay.
And I'm still dealing with it.
I want to get to that, too. Shocking, Tunisha, and I'm so sorry that you've had to deal with all of this. It is shocking, and it is enraging. Sharon, I want to bring you into the conversation here. So you think about the Time's Up movement starting, the Me Too movement, right? You think there is this reckoning across the board for women. Here we come, right? Hear us roar. Step aside. It's not happening anymore, but it continues to happen. And instances like Tunisha's continue to happen. Hers only happening in 2018, 2 years ago. This movement happened before that. And it is continuing to happen amidst this COVID shutdown, which is also shocking. You think that it would stop, at least because so many folks are working from home. What is happening?
So what we're seeing at the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund is that, yes, there was a moment of reckoning when the hashtag went viral and we started things like the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. And yes, it's continuing. And as Tunisha's story tells you, it's happening every day. And the study that we did highlights so many of the things that Tunisha talked about. So one of the things we found was that when you look at the thousands of people that have come to us since we started, over 70% were retaliated against once they reported the harassment, just like Tunisha was telling you. Another finding that we had was that over 20% of them, the harassment affected their financial health and their economic health. And, obviously being fired, that is something that will, of course, affect that. But also they had a hard time finding another job afterwards. And, you started this by talking about how this manifests itself during the COVID-19 crisis. And one of the things that we're thinking about and seeing is that with unemployment being as high as it is, people are so much more frightened about losing their jobs. And there are so many fewer jobs to find if you lose your job because of retaliation. And so, like so many things, COVID-19 and the poor economy makes everything worse.
So do the harassers feel emboldened? Like they can pounce on these vulnerable people because they are afraid of losing their job?
So we know that sex harassment is really about power, right? It's about who can control what happens in the workplace. And when you have huge power differentials, that's much more of a situation where you're bound to see more sex harassment. And so, yes, a situation where workers are more vulnerable because they're afraid to lose their jobs, because there are no jobs to be had, of course that's going to increase the chances that if someone wants to sexually harass somebody, they will have more power to do so.
Tanisha, how are you still dealing with this? What's happening now?
It's remarkable because my life changed in an instant on that very day, and I've been enduring a lot of emotional trauma from that instance of public humiliation and harassment like that. And I mean, instantly, I went from making $70,000 to $20,000 on unemployment, and that. And this is Los Angeles. So even 70,000 is like barely making it. So that for that to get cut to me filing for unemployment, it was so hard. I lost my medical insurance. I became socially isolated because I could no longer start to host family events and friends, and gatherings like that. I became extremely depressed. It was hard to get good care. And it's still hard to get good care. And, and it's like I ended up having to move back in with my parents in my mid-30s, and it's hard. It was hard for them. It was very hard to deal with. They worried about me, and it's still stuff that I'm struggling to cope with.
Well, I am so thankful for you, Tanisha, that you have chosen to share your story with the world, because I think it's incredibly important for people to hear these stories, to understand what's actually happening. So you are a light, a strength of power, and I thank you. And I think a lot of people thank you. Sharon Tajani and Tunisha Singleton, thank you all. That wraps up this hour. I'm Yasmin Vossoughian. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Reverend Al Sharpton at Politics Nation is up next after the break.